right, there we go.
Hey Randy, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's been a while since we talked. It's good to talk with you again.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back and chatting with you again too. Oh, look at Manny's setting up our hats here. Sorry.
No worries. So how's your summer been? How's everything been going so far?
Really good. Actually, I just got back from California. I got to train with my team out there, CSA. Trained with some of the best fighters in the world, one of the greatest coaches in the world. So yeah, everything's been really good. I went out there twice this summer actually.
Okay. Like last week we talked, I know that you said that you signed with Bellator. So obviously you were dealing with some injuries and whatnot. So did you kind of for this summer, you said that you're training out in the US. So did you kind of have an idea that that a fight was going to be booked during that summer or?
No, well, first we were thinking that I was going to fight in September, but then the stars just didn't line up. We didn't have an opponent, and then this fight it worked out perfectly because I know that my opponent is also a 2-0, so it just so happens that we can actually line up on the same card. So that worked out perfectly for us.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And when you had a chance to announce your fight, obviously CTV Windsor got a chance to interview. I'm if my memory corrects me.
Yep.
So, what was the feeling being able to be recognized by the city of Windsor and just have the city of Windsor on your back?
It feels really good. Honestly, everyone's been very, very supportive. We have our gym here in Windsor, who are behind us 110%. And yeah, I've got my family, my friends, fans, my clients. There's a lot of different outlets that we have here in Windsor. So the support is kind of radiating all around us. So it's great.
And with that being said, like, how do you interact with the fans and the public? Are you kind of like, do you like taking the pictures with people? Do you get many people like that?
I do. It maybe just because I'm still like pretty new, but I don't know. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I mean, I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually.
Yeah, like I find like a lot of people don't really understand, like, it's like as much as it's good to have the fans, but like, yeah, it's kind of like, hey, like leave me alone. I need to go to where I need to go, right?
Yep.
But dealing with one of your injuries, can you kind of talk a little bit about that if you don't mind? Whatever happened?
Yeah. I was training last year. Actually, it's almost a year to date, my injury. So I got my elbow injured in October of last year. So we were doing jujitsu at the gym here in Windsor. And one of the guys just got overly aggressive with me. And at first, he was like digging his elbows right into my cheekbones. And I got upset with him and I told him he needed to kind of slow down. And he didn't stop. So then I put my foot in his hip. I kicked off. And then you kind of, to get up, you kind of post out with your arm behind you. And then you put your hand up and then you go to stand up. But he came around my back, suctioned my arm in where it got stuck on the mat and just pulled my arm and it completely dislocated my elbow. So I ended up tearing off both my LCL, UCL, and I had to go to Denver, Colorado to get surgery, where, yeah, the doctor took great care of me there, and everything. It's back to 110%. It's like stronger than it ever was. And yeah.
I think like a lot of people don't realize that the part of being an MMA fighter and having that kind of career, it's not just about meeting fans and doing interviews and the fighting itself. It's sometimes the injuries that people don't really realize that you have to go through sometimes. You're not just getting sore from lifting weights. Sometimes you have breaks, you have things that. So is it good to kind of educate people, like, up and coming fighters, knowing like this is the game, this is part of the game?
Yeah, I think it's definitely for sure part of the game. I mean, going out to California, I noticed how many people had knee injuries. There's ACL tears. Like, this is definitely it's a tough sport, and you have to have the mentality for it, and you have to make sure that you have to be very resilient. You don't give up, and you have to fight through all the tough times. I mean, that's was a pretty dark time for me when my arm got dislocated, not only because of fighting, but because I'm also a massage therapist. So I wasn't able to work at all. So it was pretty stressful for me. But we're past it and I feel better than I ever have.
It's good to hear. That's good to hear. Now, with
Mhm.
your fight with Sumiko and Inaba at UFC 2, or excuse me, been talking about the UFC fighters all week at Bellator 268. Like obviously you kind of mentioned that she's 2-0, you're 2-0. Is that exactly the fight that you and your team wanted, or is that what they offered you, or did you work with Bellator? How did that all work out?
Yeah, that was the fight they offered. I mean, at first I was a little bit weary just because she just fought 3 months ago and I've been off for 2 years. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm still very talented. I work very hard. I train every single day. I have not one, but three amazing teams behind me. I have Michigan Top Team, I have CSA, and also Hybrid Training Academy. So I have exactly the tools that I need to be successful in this fight.
I just heard you mention Michigan Top Team. So you didn't have any problem getting over the border, or like what did they give you exemption?
Yeah, actually, I'm exempted now. As soon as my visa came in, I just went over and it was actually right when I got back from California the first time. I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go and see what they say. And the worst they can do is turn me back around. And I went over and yeah, they stamped my visa or my passport and I've been able to go back and forth ever since. That's great.
Now, did they give you any like time frame, like how long you could be there for? What were the rules? What was put into place?
No, they didn't say anything really. Like I said, I just got back from California, which I was there for 9 days, and um, I didn't have sorry, stop. I didn't have any problems coming back at all. It's so crazy the difference traveling in Canada and traveling from the States, because the first time I had to go from Toronto, where you need a COVID test to get on the plane to go there and to come back. Whereas when you fly from the States, you don't need any of that stuff. So it's
No
just two
doubt.
totally different worlds.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, your opponent, she's a tough opponent. Is she someone that you kind of followed in the past? You watched much Bellator?
No, I never heard of her until they brought her up to be my opponent. And then I have been watching her fights, and she's a great opponent. I'm super excited to be able to go with somebody like her for my Bellator debut, because it's not going to be an easy fight. And I don't think I've ever really taken on easy fights. I've had a lot of tough fights, and I think that both of us are very aggressive, and I think we might even steal the show.
Well, and I think that there's a lot of hype between you two and making this fight. Do you feel like Bellator kind of put this fight together for a reason?
I mean, I don't know. They could. I feel like most of the time I am the underdog. But rise of the underdog, man. I'm ready for it. I'm used to it.
I think you're going to be making people a lot of money if you win.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm super excited. I mean, I checked the stats and stuff online, but people don't know me. I've been out for 2 years, so it's a great chance for me to have an opportunity to get myself back on the stage and show people what I'm made of.
You kind of touched upon a little bit about your opponent and her style. She had a great last fight, coming out very aggressive. And I don't think that she's afraid to take the fight anywhere. So is that something that you're kind of expecting to see from her? And what are you going to be bringing to this fight?
I think, yeah, for sure. I don't think, I know because she just fought 3 months ago. So I know that she does have that aggression, and I'm sure she plans on bringing it. And I might plan on bringing it just a little bit more. I'm really lucky. I also I live with my head coach. So every single day, we are always constantly talking about game plan and just little tips and tricks on how to improve my game every single day. So yeah.
Do you obviously I would assume that you've had to watch some of her fights because you talked about a little bit about her style and knowing her style. Do
Mhm.
you believe in watching in reels? Do you believe in watching fight tapes?
Yeah, don't watch a highlight reel, because that is the dumbest thing you could probably do, because you're just like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. But then if you eventually you watch the entire fight, you kind of see their opponent and see, because a lot of times like your opponent can kind of set how the fight's going to be. She was able to be that aggressive and hit her opponent that many times, because I think her last opponent wasn't a great striker. So she had the opportunity to tee off on her a lot of times, and I don't plan on giving her those opportunities.
And obviously you want to win the fight. That's always the objective, but can you kind of give a bit of a prediction for the fight if you can?
Well, my prediction, I'm hoping to knock her head off. I'd love to knock her out. That would be wonderful. It's going to be that, or I think it's going to be a 3-round battle, and we'll let the judges take it.
Excellent. You know, so you're gonna be fighting in Arizona. Like, do you think there'll be much difference between fighting in front of like fans in the States versus, you know, in locally?
I have fought in front of fans in the States before. I've been booed, and I've come out like that, and honestly, I won. So, and I ended up developing a lot of fans over there too, because, you know, for sure you're gonna root for your hometown girl, but then when you see, like, I am a professional and I respect my opponents, and I think that that's how you also gain fans, is when they get to know you too. So, I'm not nervous about not fighting my hometown. Sometimes it's kind of nice, because when you're in your hometown, you can't even hear your coaches, your corner, because everyone's just screaming and going bananas. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you find like with a lot of European fighters, you'll hear that the fans chanting and singing, and a lot of times you can't even hear the commentary. The fans are so loud, and
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
really hard for the fighters sometimes. It's nice, but it's like, guys, like, relax.
Take it easy.
Yeah, and kind of talking about fighting in hometown. You know, obviously with Bellator, now that they're going to be taking the show, obviously this weekend, or excuse me, this Friday, they're going to be in London, England. So I mean, obviously they're starting to really bring the shows everywhere, and now that
Yeah.
in Arizona for your fight. So obviously with the current state of Canada, in Ontario especially, maybe things aren't the greatest right now, but hopefully going into the right direction. Would you hope that they would bring the show into Canada and possibly like Windsor? I mean, they've done it before.
I mean, that'd be amazing. I'm sure everyone, because a lot of people have asked, they want to come to my fight, but then, well, especially with COVID, everything going on, like there's no way. So, I mean, eventually, yeah, for sure. I honestly, I just want to get my experience before I can bring it back into hometown, because, you know, like I said, it's been a minute since I've fought. So just to get my numbers rolling again.
And that being said, with promotions, and I'm not just talking about Bellator, but other bigger promotions, whether it be UFC one, maybe not one FC, but just a lot of these big promotions. Do you think that there's gonna be a lot of hesitation when they bring it into Canada with the current state of things? Do you think that you think like it's gonna be harder for the fans to come back, or do you think people are not gonna care? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think people are going to care at this point. They are just itching to do stuff. So I don't think they're going to care at all. They're starting to do some shows here in Canada now. So I know Montreal's having some shows.
Right.
I think maybe Toronto.
Or it could
Yeah.
have been Manitoba, somewhere in the West. I think they had to be
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everyone's just getting COVID tested, and they have the rapid test now. So they're coming along with it. People need entertainment. It's essential.
Especially like in live too. Like, you know, I think a lot of fans in Canada, you know, watching all these fights on TV, and you know, they're like, come on, like I want to see a live show. Unfortunately, they're not doing that. So hopefully they're gonna do something soon, because I mean, fans I think are gonna go a little crazy if we're not getting something live.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I just want your thoughts on the fights this Friday, Bellator 267. You know, you got Lima and MVP2. I don't know how much you watch those guys, but your thoughts on that fight?
I haven't I haven't watched it. I'm really sorry. I don't have an answer for that one.
And what about Leah McCourt and Jessica Borga?
Who is it? Oh
Leah
no.
McCourt, you don't know who they are. That's okay. And I guess like
Manny would have an answer for you. He's like cheering in the corner over there.
Fair
I
enough. Fair
think
enough.
he's gonna knock him out again.
Oh, Manny thinks Lima's gonna knock him out again.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And just lastly, like looking at your opponent, obviously I would never ask you to overlook your opponent, but should you win in that fight, what would be next? Do you feel like you need a couple more fights, or do you think, you could take a top ranked opponent right away and just steamroll through that division?
No, for sure. I want a couple more fights. That is something that I know that I just want to get all the jitters and all that stuff out, because a lot of times my fights have been pretty far apart. Just to get the ball rolling and get everything going consistently. I don't ever want an easy fight. Anybody I can roll over. I expect to fight good people. Just like Sumiko, I think she's a great opponent, and I am super, super excited to be having my make my Bellator debut with her. So
Excellent. Well, thank you again for taking the time. It's always a pleasure having you on here, and good luck with your fight on October 16th.
thank you so much. Thank you.